The search for the two people who remain missing after the White Island volcanic eruption is being made difficult by poor weather. Foreign Minister Marise Payne, who is visiting New Zealand, has confirmed every single effort will be made to find the missing bodies. Live to correspondent Jackson Williams now. Jackson, the names of the two people missing have been released.
Yeah, including local tour guide in Whakatane, Hayden Marshall Inman, as well as Winona Langford, a 17-year-old Australian tourist. The bodies of these two people remain unaccounted for 8 days since White Island erupted. The 17-year-old Australian teenager, well, her parents also died in this disaster. Her brother is in hospital. He was injured in the eruption. Efforts to try and locate these two bodies continue to be hampered by very poor weather in the region. We know that a police helicopter this morning attempted to conduct an aerial search of the island and its vicinity, but the helicopter had to turn back to the mainland. The conditions were so poor. We know that dive teams have also been put on hold. It is the belief of police that these two bodies are in waters around White Island. Police say they remain committed to finding these bodies, a message mirrored by Australia's Foreign Minister Marise Payne, who's currently in New Zealand. She has held meetings with Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern and the Deputy Prime Minister Winston Peters, also meeting some of the first responders and hospital staff, including here behind me at Middlemore Hospital, where so many of the severely injured and critically burnt patients were brought to following last week's disaster. The Foreign Minister says her thoughts are with so many families who are going through such an incredibly tough and harrowing period of time.
I don't think any one of us can begin to imagine what those families are facing in the coming weeks and months. Here in places like Auckland, in Sydney, we're surrounded by Christmas and celebration, but they face tragedy and devastation, and our hearts and thoughts are with them every step of the way. Thank you.
So the Foreign Minister, Marise Payne, who's visiting New Zealand, getting somewhat emotional there. We know that the 15 victims who died in New Zealand have now all been formally identified by authorities. The 16th victim who died in a New South Wales hospital on the weekend, Tom, is yet to be identified. Well, he has been formally identified, but his family at this stage is not willing to publicly have his name released. And of course, on top of the 16 confirmed dead, those two people presumed dead. That search, well, it continues to be hampered by this weather, quite similar to these very poor conditions we've seen in Auckland today as well. Police, they say they are committed to finding those two bodies.